Let's bring in from UK's Deputy Leader, Richard Tice, who joins us in the studio. Richard, good to have you with us.
Morning.
You spent the summer challenging the government, I think it's fair to say, challenging the Home Secretary. She's literally just left that seat. Yesterday, she accused your party of having policies that were chaos on steroids.
Exactly the opposite. Clearly, as we're leading in every national poll, the last one we're beating Labour by 15%, our policies resonate with the concerns of the British people. Last week we announced our deportations policy, and I said to the Home Secretary in the Commons yesterday, the only way that you will create a proper deterrent is to detain and deport everybody who comes here illegally. Her measures announced yesterday, it's just more waffle and words. It'll make no difference whatsoever.
There was confusion in some quarters around the deportations about women and children. Just clarify that for us.
Yeah, sure. Look,
what is the situation?
The overall principle is that if you're here illegally, you can't expect to stay here forever. We don't know how many people are here illegally. Give or take, it's plus or minus 1 million people. So we're saying the first phase of deportations should be focusing on men. Primarily, there's many men of sort of young sort of age in their 20s, and that's where we would start and go through the process. We've said, look, it's going to take a parliamentary term to remove some 600,000 people, but anybody who is here illegally should not expect to be allowed to stay here forever.
So you're looking at men first in these proposals, women and children in a year's time, 2 years, 3, 4, 5?
As I say, because there's so many to deal with, it may well be the whole parliamentary term is taken up dealing with men. The overarching principle, there's always specific individual cases, but the overarching principle is that anybody here illegally cannot expect to stay. And we will deal with all those cases. And what we're not going to do is sort of create a long list of exemptions that therefore actually that acts as a magnet. And gangs and unscrupulous people essentially move their activities towards those exemptions.
So if women and children aren't the priority, what about a man who's got kids, a single father that's got kids? Will you send him back home to another country and leave the children unaccompanied? What's the situation?
The reality is that we will detain and deport those who are here illegally, starting with men. The odd individual situation will be looked at. We don't know how many of those scenarios there are, for example. We don't know whether that's 1,000 or 40 or 50,000. So you've got to get that detail first. But the principle is that if you are here illegally and you have children here, they are not British citizens. Let's make that absolutely clear.
They need to be protected, though, because they
are not British citizens.
But they need to be protected.
The role of the British government is to look after British citizens. We're absolutely clear on that. The British people are sick and tired of this sort of gaming of the system by people who've come here illegally, whether they're economic migrants or whatever, and we're not going to tolerate it. And that's why we're leading in the polls, because we're in touch with the fury of the British people.
You were quoted, and you'll know that this is coming. Sometimes you have to do deals with people you may not want to go to the pub with, in reference there to the Taliban in Afghanistan or Iran. The Taliban say they're happy to deal with you and Nigel Farage in preference to Sir Keir Starmer. What does that say about the policies that you're putting forward?
I'll tell you what it says. It says that actually people around the world recognise that Nigel Farage is likely to be the next elected Prime Minister of this country. And sometimes in life, you have to do business with people that you may not particularly like. And no one likes Hamas. But if we want ceasefire in Gaza, we've got to do a deal with Hamas. I don't know many people who like the Russian leadership, but if you want peace and a ceasefire in Ukraine, then we've got to do a deal with the Russian leadership. And that's uncomfortable, it's difficult, but it's the harsh reality of leadership.
But there will be the families of 457 British servicemen and women who died fighting the Taliban, who will listen to this going, reform's prepared to now give the Taliban money?
We're giving money. We're giving 150 million quid every year.
In humanitarian assistance.
It's going to the Taliban. They control the country.
So
Don't be naive.
So how will you make sure that it doesn't go to the Taliban?
You can't. They're in control of the country. They are essentially the governing authority. And frankly, I think it's naive to assume that you send them 150 million quid and they're not going to put their hands in the till. I mean, come on, get real.
So you can see no mechanism by which that can be avoided?
None that I'm aware of so far. If anybody's aware of it, great. But sometimes in life, you have to do business with people you may not get on with. But the role of the British government and the Prime Minister is to improve the lot of British citizens. And we can't be responsible for every bad actor elsewhere in a difficult world.
So there's no country, North Korea, if there was North Koreans coming back, you'd be prepared to do a deal there as well?
We have to focus on detaining and deporting those who are here illegally. No ifs, no buts, because otherwise you just create a sort of a game where people focus on the exemptions and then you eke the exemptions and you come up with another request and another scenario and another example. No, we're not playing that game. We're making it very clear. If you're here illegally, expect to be detained and deported.
You talked about, and the Home Secretary yesterday talked about family reunions. You claimed that there were some instances where more than 20 family members were being brought over.
Yes, I've heard of that. I've heard
what evidence is there of that? Heard of and evidence are different.
From you good friends in the media, unless you're saying that what you produce in the media is incorrect. Yes, I've heard of stories of families of 20 plus. 29 was a story I heard of an Afghani family.
What would be the level under a reform government if it was to exist?
That is ludicrous, clearly ludicrous.
So zero.
And frankly, immediate family. Do you know what I think we should go back to? And I said this yesterday. Maybe what actually worked. Back in early 2000s, we were welcoming about 20,000 asylum seekers as an overall, and that was working. The British people supported that, welcomed that, and sometimes focus on what works, not the current system, which is completely chaotic and broken.
And if that worked, that 20,000 figure, would they be able to bring their husband, wife, spouse, children?
That should be all-inclusive.
Right, OK. So that 20,000 figure is the entirety of that. So
it worked then, we were welcoming, and there was great, I think, admiration for our asylum system. Since then, we've got complete chaos. It's got worse and worse, firstly under the Tories, and now it's getting even worse under this Labour administration.
Richard Tice of Reform, good to have you with us. Thank you.